Hello and welcome back to the third holocron in the Hope of Rebellion series, a 2023 starting guide for the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes mobile game. If you haven't watched the other two holocrons already, please go back and review them, or this will be real confusing for you to start out here. For those coming back, welcome back. Let's get into it and finish out this journey. We're going to talk through the finishing out of the CLS block, getting that team to relics. We're going to transition into block 2, finish out that Profundity, and then prepare for whatever comes next. Again, let's do a reminder of how we do account building. We're always going to be farming shards for the next journey. We're always going to be working on characters that are relevant to this journey or the next one. And we're always going to be using all of our leftover energy on relicking the current character that we have as a relic target. So spend the energy on the hard nodes to farm what's next, spend energy on relic stuff, and the gear that you get from events in the rest of the game, apply that to characters and keep them working up, prioritizing the journey characters first. With that in mind, there's one of those teams that we have to be working on in the background as we work through Block 1. Toward the end of Block 1, we're going to finish up farming Wicket. I have it set so that the C-3PO relic for the CLS team is pretty much immediately after Wicket hits 7 stars. That means, in general, we have to have this whole team ready to go, up and running, and don't worry about it. I mean, Wicket unlocks before 7 stars. You'll have plenty of time to have the whole team unlocked, geared up, ready to go. And then basically just when Wicket gets his 7th star, C-3PO should already have been unlocked at 5 stars, 6 stars, and then you're just waiting on getting him the 7th star. So you finish Wicket to 7 stars, you finish the event to 7 stars, you put him at gear 12, and you relic him. So that's one of those journeys that, as we're working through the CLS relic, relicking that team, you will have had to pay attention to these Ewoks. Now, I do have Paplu and Ewok Elder in this snapshot at gear 12. It is nice to have both of those characters to gear 12. They are big difference makers in this particular event. And being able to put 6-dot mods on both of those characters, especially the Elder, is really nice. Now, this event really has some pretty massive variability. The characters hit pretty hard, and to the extent that if the opposing team is going and they're hitting each one of your characters randomly once, you're fine, you'll heal up, and you'll keep playing. If they focus on the same character randomly for 2 or 3 hits, that character will die. And if a couple of them die, or if it's Elder that dies, you have to reset the event. There's people that have spent hours and hours trying to complete this event at the absolute minimum gear. The Ewoks are not a desirable team, and putting gear onto the Ewoks is not a fun thing to do because that gear could have gone on other characters. For myself, I really don't want to spend hours and hours doing an event. So with relatively modest gear, I did take Paplu and Elder to gear 12 to put good mods on them, and within a couple attempts, I got the 7-star C-3PO. I would rather spend the gear than spend hours in the game failing. Some people would rather challenge themselves and see if they can get it at less gear. Pick your style. That's up to you. There's not a right answer. There's not a wrong answer. I'm not telling you how to play the game in that sense. But do be aware. If you try to minimize the gear, the RNG is massive. The Zeta for Chirpa does help a lot here, so I'm going to recommend the Zeta on Chirpa. If the timing doesn't work for this C-3PO event, just look at your relic schedule, and you can pull forward another relic. Either, Biston for the Profundity would be real easy to have ready to relic. Old Daka is for the optional Nightsister team that we're going to talk about. You could pull her ahead of C-3PO. But at the end of the day, even if you miss the timing by a little bit, do not skimp out on the event or wait on C-3PO or say that you're going to get him later. You've got to commit to these Ewoks. You got to build them up. You got to get 3PO in time. Having that 5th relic on the CLS team is a big deal. Remember, if we have 5 relics, we can use a Datacron. At lower levels, lower skill ratings in GAC, Datacrons are outright abuse because the CLS team is already very hard to beat. If you put that on defense with a decent Datacron, and I say in fair matchups because remember, you are going to fight some completely unreasonable matchups where somebody with 7 million galactic power is in Carbonite. But yeah, so you'll have something. Or by now you're probably in high Bronzium or maybe even Chromium. But still, in fair matches with a Datacron, that CLS team is nasty. You also need everybody at Relic 5 for C-Pit. You also want everybody Relic for Conquest. And the list goes on, guys. You want to build your first full Relic team. C-3PO is on that team. Don't mess around with these Ewoks. Build them up. Get the event done. Get that C-3PO to Relic. Make that the priority for this phase. And it's not easy to bring all this stuff together and get all these characters relics. But if it was easy, everybody would do it. And in this case, we're doing it. We're going to stick to it. We're going to make it happen. And we're going to get that team going. All right, let's revisit the visual, and we'll take a look at that timing, and we'll go forward from there. So in weeks 31 to 40, we're finishing up Block 1, right? This is where we start working on Mon Mothma finally. We're farming the Nightsister zombie. You see that C-3PO relic. You can't see that it's Wicket, but right before Mon Mothma, that's Wicket's farm that's ending, and Mon Mothma comes after that. So that's the timing. That's also where I have that C-3PO relic in there. But again, you can move Old Daka, whether Han Solo's ready to relic or not, depending on your raids, all that stuff. So there is potentially a little variability in the order of relicking characters here. And if nothing is ready, then just pull forward Biston or something out of the Profundity journey. That's fine. All right, and then in the Cantina, we're working on that Nightsister Spirit. Again, we want to get that second assault battle done. That's optional. Again, I put these optional things in there, so if you're behind, you can catch up. If you're not behind, you can go ahead and push these optional things to fill the time. The ARC Trooper is also optional for a 501st team that we may or may not build. In this phase, you need a lot of signal data, so pick what you can do with the account. In weeks 41 to 54, that's where we're going to be finishing up all the farms, doing the last relics for the Profundity, getting all the bounty hunter ships done for that Millennium Falcon, and the fleet energy is pretty clear at this point. You should have plenty of room to work on your next journey. I've got Biston's U-Wing in there, but again, we farm that out of the shop, so that shouldn't be something that's necessary there. The Cantina, of course, is going to be stressed for the whole journey. All right, and then in Cantina Farms, we see that in that last phase, we've just left it open for signal data and working on the next journey, whatever that might be. So after you're getting all this stuff pulled together and you're finishing up that full Relic CLS team, what's that going to look like? CLS should be getting tons of holds in Grand Arena. Again, in fair matchups, it should be a showstopper. With the other teams developed, I think with the CLS team, you have the Troopers team, you have Vader. Box 8 should be reasonable for a lot of the Galactic challenges. That gets you 2 of those Omicron materials, so you really want to push for Box 8 whenever you can. That's pretty important, and you should have the tools to do it. Of course, they have strange objectives in some of these that just won't happen, and do the best you can. Normal Conquest, you should be getting box 4 or 5 pretty easily by this point. Fleet, you should be in the top 10. Malevolence should be at 5-star. Maybe you can get into the top 5 with the Malevolence. Who knows? Depends on what other people build in your fleet shard, and it depends how competitive they are. If you get into a fleet shard that offers you to be in a Discord chat for the fleet, do that. If you get into a good one, people just organize it based on the payout times. The guys who get the executors first will soften their fleets up and let other people take first place for the 23 hours when it's not their payout. That's nice. If you find an organized Discord or organized group for Fleet Arena, do by all means participate in that. And by all means, step aside and let other people get higher placement. There's only 1 hour a day when you need to be first, and once your payment gets paid out, put a weaker fleet in there and let people beat you up and take first place. It's it's nice. I've been part of an organized fleet shard that did that for a while, and it was good. Everybody got to get their payouts. After Block 1, we can expect 3 assault battles at Challenge Tier 1, and the Nightsisters can be the 4th if you choose to do those. That's a huge boost to the relic rate. We got Smuggler's Run, Contraband Cargo, the Endor event. By having a 7-star wicket, that unlocks the Endor event for 2 extra Zetas a month. And if you do the optional Nightsisters, having a 7-star Mother Talzin also gets you another 2 Zetas per month. So that additional 4 little Zeta pieces per month over a 5-month period is an extra Zeta. It's really nice. It's stuff that we're doing anyway, that we need to do anyway, so why not take advantage of it, cash in. And again, that's why the optional Nightsister team is in there, because we can do some really good event gear with that team. All right, making purchases of the Arrow Magnifiers and Droid Brains. Remember, we need a Relic 8 and a Relic 9. We're still making those purchases, getting them a little bit at a time as we go along, or however you want to do it, but that's my recommendation, once every couple weeks making a purchase. Probably catching up on some Cantina characters at this point. Non-spenders are definitely going to feel like their relics are low, they're lacking signal data at this point. That's okay. I would expect that anyway. But it's not a disaster, because there's plenty of space at the end to catch up on signal data and finish those relics out. Having a good guild and getting good event loot is going to help keep on track with this timeline. And remember to always put some damage on the raid just to get placement. Even if you just go in there and hit it for 1,000, then you will outscore everybody else who didn't participate at all. So that's good. The optional Nightsister team, if you're playing efficiently, you can get these farms done. You can relic an old DACA in between the CLS teams and finishing out the Profundity. The reason the space works for me in this layout, we're waiting on the Xanadu Blood to get to 7 stars to get that 7-star Millennium Falcon anyway. So for me, building this in makes that timing work out. That's kind of like the timing for the Profundity event. So filling it in with some Nightsisters, getting old DACA to relic, it gets you another assault battle at Challenge Tier 1. It gets you those free Zeta materials. But again, if you're behind on signal data, Cantina farming, all that stuff, you can just skip the whole optional Nightsister build. It's not really costing you that much, and all those resources can then be used to catch up on your timing. All right, after DACA, the second Profundity relic goes on Hera. Remember, we relic Dash Rendar way back when to get the Smuggler team up and running and to get Dash effective in Grand Arena. So he was the first Profundity relic. But I put Hera at the front of that list for the rest of the Profundity journey. And that's basically where we would commit to build the Phoenix team, grab stuff out of the shop, get Thrawn up and running. Ghost and Phantom should be done by now by purchasing them out of the fleet store. The Phantom doesn't unlock without Sabine. A lot of people don't build Sabine for the Phoenix team, but you have to at least unlock her to unlock the Phantom. The Phantom's not part of the Profundity journey, but if you do want another cargo ship, then you can unlock them. If you're going to build Ghost, you might as well build Phantom anyway. You can get some use out of them on the way up, but it is optional to build. And of course, if you don't build it, then you don't need Sabine Wren. All right, with efficient play, there'll be another opportunity at the end. As we're finishing up with all of our Cantina work, we can grab the ARC Trooper out of there. We can grab Shock T out of fleet farming. So if things have gone well at this point, we can grab these characters. If not, again, skip it. It's a place for you to catch up on resources and timing. But anyway, there's a version of the 501st team that I call the Clone Bomb team. And basically, you build up 5s, you put a Zeta on 5s, and you intentionally run the team in a way that 5s is going to get sacrificed pretty early on. In my version of this team, for the longest time, I had ARC Trooper at 4 stars with really bad gear, the AI would prioritize him, or they would do an area effect skill, and immediately 5s would get sacrificed. It's best to have 5s at relic level, but even just with him at gear 12, he sacrifices himself and turns the rest of the troopers into basically better than gear 12 troopers, and they can win some battles from there. It's a team that's flexible. You can just relic 5s at some point in the future and make the team really strong. So again, it's a team that punches up a lot. You can beat some General Grievous teams and some Padme teams and things like that just with this garbage clone team without too much effort. So it's something you can build if you like Grand Arena that punches up a long way, and it's not too hard to grab. It's some shop characters, and Shock T farmed out of fleet. Arc Trooper a little bit off Cantina, but like I said, you can leave him at low gear. After the 5-star Malevolence, my recommendation is to build the Malevolence to 5 stars, then switch and build a 5-star Negotiator. We're going to need a fleet to go with the Negotiator. We've already built Jedi Knight Anakin's ship and Ahsoka, and the Houndstooth can be used as the tank in this fleet. But we're going to want 5s in there, right? So 5s is a good ship. He can be in the starting 3. And if we've built him for that little clone team, then we'll have the 5 ship to put with the Negotiator as well. So you can see where there's synergy, there's efficiency with all of this stuff. It's not that we just randomly build a 501st team. It's that, we need 5s for the fleet anyway. It's not bad to have him. So we build that. We build a little clone team around him. We have the space to do it if we've been efficient. All right, so then we're into Block 2, and we're just relicking these Profundity characters, right? This is the home stretch. We can't talk about whatever the next journey is that we'd be building because, I don't know what that is for you or what you've selected or what you will have selected by then. And by then the game may change, and what I recommend now may not be what you want anyway, so who knows. But anyway, we're on the final stretch of this block. We're relicking up the final Profundity characters. We're farming for whatever comes next. And we're keeping the journey selected all the time. Now, I have the Profundity journey completed, so I couldn't load it into my journey guide. But by loading the Executor guide, you can kind of see what this looks like, right? You'll see in the tab where you see all your character squads and ships and all that, there's also a journey guide tab. If you pick the character aspect of that, you'll see all the characters that are needed for that journey. You can look at them, make sure you've got stars on them, you're relicking them, you're paying attention. And if there's a character in there and you go, oh my God, I'm not working on that, you save yourself before you're at the end and you go into the journey, you can't do it, right? This gives you everything you need to it's the dashboard, right? It lets you look at your journey, make sure you're doing everything you need. There's also a ships section on it where you'll be able to go and you'll be able to see all the ships that you need and what your progress is on them. So don't sleep on this. Keep this on your journey guide, keep it selected, keep it on this tab. And when you're working on characters and ships, always make sure you're checking in here to make sure that you're staying on track. We do have 4-week blocks for Cassian and Raddus relics. And again, one's Relic 8 and Raddus is Relic 9. So we put extra time in there, assuming that, okay, even if you can get them to Relic, maybe you need some extra time to farm up those high Relic materials and get that finished out. So I built some space in there. And the total journey timing, again, we fit together all of these farms for regular energy so that we're finishing out that Xanadu Blood ship to 7 stars right around the time that we get the Profundity. We get the Profundity, we get Han's Millennium Falcon to 7 stars. We've already got Han and Chewie relicked because we relicked them for the CLS team. So that ship just cruises right into place where it needs to be with the Profundity. Now, the Millennium Falcon is in no way part of the event, so if it's not 7 stars, it's fine. If you've only got a 6-star Millennium Falcon and Xanadu Blood hasn't been farmed up yet, it's okay. It's all right. You'll have 6 stars. You'll have relic characters in it, and when you finish it out to 7 stars in the future, you'll be fine. It's why, it's why we geared up IG-88 and Cad Bane, because they're the pilots for the Xanadu Blood and the IG-2000. It's why we farm these ships. And now here at the end, it's all coming together. Everything we need. The Profundity event itself, in big capital letters, it's an RNG festival. I did it on 2 accounts for the same event on the same day. I did it on the Obticeo account first, struggled through it, failed, tried, failed, got it. Went on to the next part, failed, tried, failed, got it. So then I went on to my Loquitur account, and I thought, surely, with all that experience, I was just going to walk in there and go right through the event. And guess what? It was just as RNG the second time. And, you'll get it on the 4th try, or maybe the 11th try, or maybe you get it on the 1st try. There's just some little things in there with where you get assists and how the enemy plays that may or may not allow you to complete the event. So who knows? The moral of the story is, if you get into this event with the ships as they're built and qualified for the event, as long as you've put reasonable skills into it, you're in good shape. So, for example, on Biston's ship, the Scarif Rebel doesn't have to be that great. On the Ghost, you don't have to have the other characters in the Ghost maxed out. Harrison Dula's in good shape. As long as you've got reasonable gear on the other two in there, I think it's Zeb and Kanan, you'll be okay. So gear 8 on those, gear 9 is fine. Cassian's U-Wing, I did put a little extra gear onto the K2SO. It's not required. He's not part of the journey, but I wanted Cassian's U-Wing to be as good as possible. So that may be one character that you want to at least gear up a little bit. But yeah, so as you qualify for the event, you should be in good shape. You just have to push through the RNG and keep playing it, and you'll get it. What I used in the first battle, you're always going to have the Outrider and the Y-Wing tank as starting ships. In the first battle, I used Cassian to start. If I remember correctly, there was a heal immunity that kept getting put on my ships. So I used Cassian as one of the starting 3 so that I could use the skill to remove the healing immunity, and that worked pretty well. The second battle, I used Biggs as in the starting 3 and then reinforced with Cassian and the Ghost. And in the third and fourth battle, we started with Ghost in as the starting 3 and then reinforced through Cassian and Biggs. So I don't know if that helps anybody, but those unlocks are in a stream that I did on my channel. So somewhere in live streams, just click over onto live streams, look at the live streams, and you'll find those Profundity unlocks. And you can go in there and watch me do it and listen to the chat. Or you can look up guides for people who have given advice on how to unlock it. Zetas for Block 2. For a free-to-play account going 1 year, I expect somewhere between 25 and 30 Zetas for this account. We're already up to 20 by the time we work through the CLS team and the Radis team, if we include Mon Mothma in there. So we're tight on Zetas by the end of it. Chirpa probably needs the event for the Zeta, so you'll have to fit that in, maybe even into the list that I gave before. It might come up. If you do the Nightsister team, you'll want Zetas on Daka, Serve Again, Talzin on the Great Mother, and Asajj on Rampage is optional, but it could help. So maybe some Nightsister Zetas. The Padme team could use Zetas at some point. The team is much, much more effective with the Zetas on it, especially if you want to use it in Conquest. You're going to have to get the Zetas on that team. There's other Zetas to consider too. Darth Trey lead can help in certain circumstances. 5's Tactical Awareness if you're doing the 5's Clone Bomb team. Then Grandmaster Yoda Battle Meditation is good. So, I've got about 40 Zetas worth of suggestions here. But I'm for a free-to-play player, you'll probably only get about 25 to 30 Zetas in your first year. So put them where they make the most sense. The priorities are already listed up above in the prior discussions. Omicrons, we talked about 5 Omicrons. Since this is a year long, by the time you get there, things may have changed. The Darth Trey Omicron is looking really good. If you build Nightsisters, Asajj could be an interesting one. Admiral Radis has an Omicron for Grand Arena that's nice. Zam and Iden are still really good Omicrons. So these are all things to consider, but who knows, maybe by then there'll be a new version of Thrawn that's been issued with an Omicron that's devastating, and maybe you'll want to get that. So I don't know. I don't feel comfortable to say what the best Omicrons are a year from now. So here's some suggestions, or whatever makes the most sense to you by then. Block 3 farms. So what comes next? While we're finishing up the Profundity, there is a lot of light and dark side energy available. You can select your next project. If you do select something that doesn't have a lot of hard farms, like for Star Killer, maybe you could afford some hard farms for something else. It is a chance also for you to go back and look at that Vulture Droid and Hyena Bomber. Vulture Droid also gets you Iden Versio, which can help. And both of these ships are going to make your Malevolence fleet stronger. So also the BTLB Y-Wing can be farmed up. Then you can put that in with the Galactic Republic fleet under Negotiator. Free up the Houndstooth for a different fleet somewhere else. So these pilotless ships are definitely worth the farms. It's hard to find a place to put them in. It's always easy to justify why you can't farm them. But my suggestion is, if you have any room at all for hard farms, do take a look at those pilotless ships. This journey is about a year play. I'm assuming the galactic power for non-hyperdrive people should be around 2 million, 2.4 million. We built a lot of ships, so it's going to escalate the galactic power. Hyperdrive bundle is probably at 3.2, 3.5 million, something like that. Again, with the extra galactic power that you get from the Hyperdrive bundle. And 4 million is hard conquest, and we want to get there. We want to get the hard conquest as soon as we can. Galactic power, keeping galactic power low used to be a thing, and there was a reason for it. Now there's not. So just hit it, hammer it, get your GP up to 4 million, and get into hard conquest. If we build the Galactic Legend next, that really sets us up well for hard conquest. SLKR works very well. Rey, JMK. Getting the Padme team in good shape is also good, and it also helps the Galactic Republic fleet. So 2-for-1 sale. At this point, I don't recommend that you follow up the Profundity immediately with something like General Anakin Skywalker, the Revans, Beskar Armor Mando journeys, things like that. They just don't have enough synergy and enough payout, and I think, again, would leave you a little bit weak for the hard mode conquest. So something like SLKR gets you 2 teams for Grand Arena, a good team for hard conquest. Rey gets you 2 or 3 teams depending how you divide it up. JMK gets you a team that can 3-star anything in hard conquest, with or without Cat. So a Galactic Legend to me makes the most sense. If you don't want to do that, there is other stuff you can do. On the Obticeo project right now, I'm doing Jedi Master Luke. It seemed to me like we're already building Rebels, we're already building ships, we're working on the CLS team. We'll just roll right into the JML journey. And I'm telling you guys, based on my own experience, even though we've built Rebels and built a full Relic CLS team, JML is a long way away. If we build Jedi Knight Luke, you're going to want Jedi Knight Revan for that team. There's been no space to farm Jedi Knight Revan. So what I've done on my Obticeo project, I've ended that Profundity, but I still don't have Jedi Knight Revan. I still don't have Hermit Yoda finished. I have Rolo because I did get into a guild that was doing light side Hoth, so I got all my Rolo shards done without having to buy them. But I'm in the Jedi Knight Luke journey without the Jedi Knight Luke requirements done. So I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm going to have to go back and forth and finish things out as I'm on the journey, which really it feels super clunky to me. And when I'm planning out my timeline, it's really going to take a long time. So I don't recommend it. I recommend going with a different Galactic Legend. And let's say, for example, you pick Supreme Leader Kylo Ren to follow up this journey. At first, you're going to have to farm some characters for SLKR that are hard farms, like the Red Trooper and stuff like that. But once you get done with those farms, there's a long period of time at the end of the SLKR journey. You've got the finalizer event under control. You farm the characters, and there's a long space where you could fit in a new block at the end. And that would be nice. You could already do the Jedi Knight Revan requirements, unlock Revan, get ready for that Jedi team. You could be finishing up that Hermit Yoda, working on Rolo. And then by the time you're done with the SLKR and you've got that Galactic Legend being finalized, you've got really everything you need to go into the JML journey and just start relicing those characters, instead of the intensity of trying to build it and relic it at the same time, which, like I said, is proving pretty difficult for me at the moment. So I don't recommend JML. I think JML is a great GL, but I think something in between. Profundity, something in between to let you get enough time to build up the requirements for JML and the teams that you're going to build around Jedi Knight Luke and make that a smooth transition. You need Jedi Training Rey as well. So, yeah, again, you can work on getting Jedi Training Rey unlocked while you're doing something else. And it just makes that whole journey more efficient. All right, so again, personal experience with this. My alt account, Inquisitor Obticeo, January 1st of 2022. I started with an idea that I was going to build clones into General Anakin Skywalker, but then partway through, the Profundity came out. I looked at the journey. The fleet shard that I was in was going crazy with executors already, so I knew that I had to build a mega fleet. So I decided to just stop everything and build the Profundity. The account progress is documented weekly. You can go back and look and watch me do all of this stuff. Everything that's in this build guide I've done myself on the Obticeo account. I worked with the purchases of arrow magnifiers and brains, and I juggled energy. And I was in a moderate guild. I didn't use my channel to get into a good guild, which I could have, but I didn't. And so I stayed in a modest guild. I was locked out of high fleet placement. So for the entire journey, I was getting top 10, but I couldn't get top 5 for most of the time that this account was in progress. If you build it this way instead with the CLS team up front and a bunch more event focus up front, so instead of building the relic clones like I did, this build builds the CLS team, which is going to be far more effective than my clones have been. So I committed to the Profundity on week 32, and I did the Profundity event in week 52. And in those 20 weeks that it took me to get everything pulled together, I did a total of 10 relics in that time frame, including the R8 and the R9 and all the purchases that I needed for the arrow magnifiers and everything. So it's doable, and probably everybody couldn't do it the way that I did it. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but it might be challenging for some players. But stretching that out over a total of 54 weeks instead of 20 weeks and looking for it ahead of time, I think anybody can manage it. I did achieve it without spending other than the initial Hyperdrive bundle. So if you follow this and you decide to spend, buy crystals, I'm telling you, this journey is all about those Cantina refreshes. The more you can get Cantina refreshes, it's just going to propel this whole thing forward. On the Obticeo project, there were many times, and you could see it in my weekly updates, I couldn't even get 3 refreshes on everything. I had to cut back on fleet refreshes, cut back on mod refreshes, and do the best I could with what I had to save up the crystals for the purchases. So, again, if you go through this journey and you start to struggle and you think to yourself, man, I don't know what to do or how anybody could do it, there are hours worth of videos on my channel. So go back, take a look at those, and watch and learn. And I did do a 2-week period where I show everything. I show everything that I collect, how I build, everything. And surely that can help you. So whatever's next, you got to pick your block. And basically, the basis for this account, once you get that Profundity, your fleet placement is good. You got that CLS team. You're doing great in Conquest. You're doing good in Galactic Challenges. You got plenty of events unlocked. And you're ready to build anything that you want to build. There's a sequence of GLs that I think, if it was my account to play, I would finish the Profundity. I would do Rey while prepping that Jedi Knight Luke journey. I would go from there into Jabba the Hutt. And then once I had Jabba the Hutt, I would do Jedi Master Luke. And again, this is like a long-term plan and things change. But in between each of those journeys, you could build a fun team. So do like Rey. And then while you're setting up for Jabba, you get the Jedi Knight Luke and all that stuff. And then between Jabba and JML, you could build Afra or Starkiller or something like that, and then go to the next. So I think this account is set up with good synergy for short-term, long-term, anything you want to play. Starkiller is interesting if you like GAC. It builds a bunch of good teams. We've already got synergy with several of those teams. Dash Rendar is already built. Mara Jade, team we've already talked about, and I've suggested the Omicron for her. Talon can help a Sith team. And we already built Mon Mothma as part of the journey, so Kyle Katarn already has the leader for his team relicked and ready to go. So there's a lot of synergy between this build and the Starkiller team. If you like PvP, that would be a nice next block. And then, of course, relicking the Padme team, just finishing out this journey, then going back, putting all the Zetas on, relicking out the Padme team. And I would say, let's say if you really don't want a GL for some reason, I like this Padme team. The Afra team is looking so fun and interesting. By then you'll be able to farm up the Afra requirements. So while you're relicking the Padme team, you're farming Afra stuff, and then you do that after the journey. And it gives you a bunch of cool, fun teams to play and manage all your expectations and conquest as well. That's it. That's going to wrap up the whole journey. So from 1 to 54 weeks, we've built through everything. We've gone through a bunch of journey unlocks. We've got a CLS team up and running. We've built Ewoks, C-3PO, Nightsisters, if you want them, and a little clone team if you want them. And we're ready to build anything else with great income from events, great income from Grand Arena and all that stuff. So if you got questions, put them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your comments, questions, criticisms, thoughts. We've got the Loquitur Discord. There's going to be people talking about this journey and all kinds of stuff. There's an Ask Loquitur channel, so you can get over there and ask questions directly of me if you want to. The link is always in the description of the Holocron down below. Just click on that. Join us over on the Discord. Hope to see you over there. Thank you all for watching, and good luck with the hope of the rebellion.